The shocking truth about accessing higher dimensions at midnight. The clock struck midnight, a moment drenched in ancient mystery. Shadows danced on the walls, swirling in wicked patterns. A chilling breeze slithered through the open window, whispering secrets of the unknown. Legends spoke of a hidden door, accessible only at this mystical hour, leading to realms beyond imagination. Some called it madness. Others deemed it magic. But those who dared to venture, like Alex, would never be the same. There was something strange about the night. The moon hung low, a giant eye staring down with an eerie glow. Alex's heart raced like a wild drum. Reports had flooded the internet about people disappearing after attempting the impossible. Higher dimensions, they called it. Every story twisted in fear, shrouded in intrigue, leaving more questions than answers. With trembling hands, Alex clutched an old book found buried in the attic. The cover had faded to a ghostly hue, its pages barely hanging on. These ancient texts promised enlightenment but warned of dire consequences. Those who seek must be prepared. The words echoed in Alex's mind as an unsettling chill curled around the spine. What did that even mean? Outside, the neighborhood remained still. Not a sound. Not a creature stirred. The darkness felt thick, wrapping tightly around him like a security blanket, except filled with dread. Suddenly, a flicker drew his gaze to the backyard. There, a soft light pulsed, beckoning him. Could this be the portal to a higher realm? A gasp escaped Alex's lips. Were others trying to access it too? Fear clawed at his throat, but curiosity pulled him closer. Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As Alex stepped closer, the air crackled with energy. A sensation washed over him, one part exhilaration, one part terror. The light pulsed like a heartbeat. Each thump felt alive, creeping into his veins. He felt a pull, drawing him nearer, as if the universe itself wanted him to cross that threshold. Was this the moment his life would change forever? Or would it lead to something darker, something he couldn't escape? The question hung in the air, heavy and electric. What awaited him on the other side? Every instinct in Alex screamed for him to turn back. Yet here he was, drawn to the light as if it had a magnetic pull. Each step felt like a pact he couldn't break. As he approached, the warmth of the glow enveloped him, wrapping him in an almost intoxicating embrace. Suddenly, everything shifted. The air shimmered like heat waves over asphalt in summer, and the light morphed into a swirling vortex. It was no longer just a flicker. It expanded, creating a circular door of radiant energy. The sight was mesmerizing, yet terrifying. Alex's breath quickened. This was not just a passage to a higher realm. It felt like an awakening, a call to something far beyond comprehension. He hesitated. Should he? Heart pounding, he remembered the warnings. Dire consequences danced in his mind, whispering doubts that threatened to choke him. But the pull was irresistible. He couldn't ignore it. What lay beyond the threshold was beyond any dream he had ever dared to dream. But could a single decision lead to salvation or disaster? With a deep breath that felt like he was bracing for the worst, Alex stepped forward, feeling the energy ripple against his skin. Just as he crossed the line where light met shadow, a thunderous roar echoed through the night. It sounded like the tumult of a million voices all crying out at once. Panic surged through him. Had he just made the biggest mistake of his life? The world spun violently. Colors blurred, shapes contorted, and sounds warped into a cacophony of chaos. He stumbled, reaching out for anything to hold on to as reality warped around him. Time lost all meaning. A moment could have been an hour or a heartbeat. Images flashed before his eyes, each more absurd than the last. Creatures that transcended earthly forms danced in the periphery, and landscapes morphed into surreal dreams. Then, abruptly, everything stopped. Silence. Alex found himself standing on an ethereal plane, bathed in surreal twilight. Above him, galaxies spiraled in vivid hues, while beneath his feet, the ground felt soft and gelatinous, pulsing like a living entity. He was surrounded by figures cloaked in shifting shadows, their faces indistinguishable yet strangely familiar. Were they watching him? "Welcome, Seeker," a voice echoed, smooth as silk yet resonating with authority. The figures shimmered, revealing fragments of things lost and forgotten, the flicker of memories, the shimmer of dreams unfulfilled. "You have crossed into the Nexus. Here all truths are revealed, but do not believe everything you see." Confusion gripped Alex, twisting his gut. "What do you mean?" he managed to ask, his voice trembling. "What is this place?" "This realm exists between your world and the next. Here lies the knowledge that can change the fabric of reality itself," the voice replied. "But with knowledge comes a price. Are you willing to pay?" The words hung suspended in the air, echoing warnings from the old book. A lump formed in his throat. What kind of price? Was he ready to wear the chains of wisdom or be crushed under their weight? Just then, a sudden tremor coursed through the ground. The figures flickered, and the mesmerizing scene around him began to fade. "Time is not on your side, Seeker," the voice shouted urgently. "Choose wisely. The portal may close forever." A cold sweat broke out on Alex's brow. What choice could he possibly make? It felt like he was standing at a precipice, and beyond it lay nothing but darkness and maybe answers. What was he willing to give up for the truth? Would he pay the ultimate price to know what it truly meant to touch the stars? The urgency of the moment clutched at him, and then a thought struck him. What if this wasn't just about him? What if his choice would affect others too? As the last wisps of the shimmering light began to unravel, one question remained. Could he turn back, or had he already crossed the point of no return? With the stakes higher than he could ever have imagined, he needed to decide. And fast. The ground trembled beneath him, a violent reminder that time was slipping away. Alex felt the weight of 1,000 eyes, those shadowy figures leaning closer, their whispered secrets tantalizing yet terrifying. Panic clawed at him, but amid the chaos, the deeper question pressed on his mind. Who would pay the price he might choose? Seeker, the voice lingered, smooth yet sharp. What echoes from your past do you wish to rewrite? What future do you desire? His heart raced. Every fiber of his being screamed to turn back, to escape this otherworldly realm. But the flickering images danced in his mind, faces of loved ones, regrets of moments never taken. Wouldn't the answers he sought shape not just his fate, but that of everyone he cared about? The vortex pulsed, urging him to act. Frantic thoughts tumbled through his mind. What if he could save his family? What if he could undo the heartache that had defined his life? A swirling inner conflict pushed him toward the brink. This was not an opportunity he could ignore. But what tremors would his choices unleash? Choose. The voice boomed, slipping into an urgency that resonated through the bizarre landscape. Alex opened his mouth, words caught in his throat like stones. The figures swirled closer, their eyes glowing with an ethereal light, unwavering, expectant. He understood, for a fleeting moment, that the very fabric of reality hinged on this decision. Each life altered, each secret unveiled, bore consequences. What if he sought to rewrite history only to unravel tomorrow? "I want to change," Alex stammered, realizing that even the thought of change could lead to a spiral he might not control. "But I need to protect them." The shadowy figures began to ripple wildly, as if tasting his uncertainty. But at what cost? The voice pressed, flooding the air with electric tension. "Sacrifice is key. What will you give in return for everlasting knowledge?" A jolt of clarity struck him. What if he had to confront his own fears, his pain? The flickering memories of loss and regret haunted every heartbeat. The vibrant cosmos pulsed like a heartbeat, urging him forward with fleeting hope. Yet, a voice deep within questioned, Could he endure the truth no matter how agonizing? Above him, the galaxies twisted, a cosmic dance of pressure. Time splintered, and Alex felt each heartbeat echo around him, amplifying his choices. "I won trade my soul," he shouted, the words reverberating as if they were louder than thunder, pushing against the shadows. "Ah, but the soul is a currency necessary for that which you desire," the voice replied, smooth and unwavering. "Embrace your fears, and you shall uncover the truth. But be warned, seeker truth can bind you far tighter than any darkness." The ground quaked once more, the swirling vortex ominously flickering. Images clawed at his mind. The weight of his past decisions threatened to crush him under held-back regrets. The air shimmered, begging for an answer, a resolution. "Embrace what you fear, Alex. Stand firm." But deep inside, he trembled at the prospect of what might be revealed and what he might lose in the pursuit of that understanding. Would confronting his demons enlighten him or entrap him forever? As shadows shifted in the twilight, uncertainty hung thick in the air. With time running out, Alex felt the ground he stood on pulse, alive, waiting for him. He drew from the recess of his heart, summoning every ounce of courage he had. "Then let me see. Let me confront the price of truth," he shouted defiantly, eyes closed against the swirling dread. But as he leapt into the unknown, did he truly know what he was about to awaken? A scream cut through the silence, echoing like a whisper of doom, leaving Alex to brace for the reality that awaited. What had he truly unleashed? The darkness swirled around Alex, thick and cloying, as he plummeted into the void. His body twisted in a weightless dance, gravity's hold slipping through his fingers. For an instant, he felt free, detached from the chaos of his life. Then, like a lightning bolt, reality slammed back into him. Crashing waves of memories overwhelmed him, each one more piercing than the last. He landed hard, breathless on fractured ground that pulsed with something alive. Light broke through the shadows, and it revealed a barren landscape, marred by cracks and eerie silhouettes. The figures loomed closer, eyes burning into him with an intensity that sent chills rippling down his spine. "Welcome," the voice echoed again, slithering through the air, "to the realm of truth. You seek to rewrite the pages of your past, but beware, every scribble has a price." With a deep gasp, Alex scanned the horizon. Shapes moved among the shadows, a figure resembling his younger self, a flash of his sister's laughter, haunting glimpses of lost moments. Each flicker felt like a dagger twisting in his gut. "No, I didn't mean to come here. This isn't what I wanted. Yet you called upon it." The voice dripped with amusement, taunting him. "What you wish to erase you can also relive. Relive it wholly and understand what must be sacrificed." Alex's heart thundered like an impending storm. He realized he was trapped between the self he was and the enormity of the choices that lay before him. A moment of vulnerability split him open. Could confronting the past redeem him? Or would it expose wounds too raw to heal? Remember, the whispers surrounded him like a noose. What you choose will ripple through time. Feel the weight of decisions and choose wisely. As if summoned by the mere thought, the world around him shifted. He stood in front of a mirror, an inky reflection showing scenes from his life that he had buried. The flashbacks roared to life, drowning him in nostalgia and pain. A moment he wished he could retract, when anger had ruptured the bond with his sister. The memory pulled at him, urging him to take ownership, to hold her once more. "Do you wish to rewrite this moment?" The specter flickered, waiting with eyes as deep as the universe. "Can you afford to face the truth of your weaknesses?" "No," he shouted, voice cracking. "I can't relive the hurt. I can't." "Then what will you do?" The voice hissed, now impatient, fed by his turmoil. "Hide forever? The path of least resistance will never grant you peace." A chasm opened beneath him, shadows swirling violently in protest. As Alex felt himself teeter on the edge of a decision, tears streamed down his face. He didn't want to face pain, but he understood that some paths couldn't be ignored. Somewhere amidst the shards of regret lay a chance for redemption. "Show me," he whispered, voice barely audible. Show me the truth. Light surged, blinding him as images shattered the darkness around him like glass. Each cracking moment revealed glimpses of anguish, laughter, and longing. He gasped, realizing he wasn't just seeing the past but the decision that led to this moment, the choice between longing and escape. The air thickened, vibrating with energy as the figures closed in tighter. Embrace the truth, seeker. Free yourself from the shackles of your fears, but understand you may not like what you find. Can you bear the weight of your truths? Fear ricocheted through him, but also a spark of defiance ignited within. I have to know. But there was a cost to unveiling every piece of the truth. With each heartbeat he felt reality wobbling. What if knowing extinguished his chance of salvation? What if this universe of secrets consumed him? The ground shuddered again, threatening to swallow him whole. Are you ready? As the air grew too still, Alex steadied himself. The scream from before echoed once more. Resonating through his core, he took a deep breath, ready to dive deeper. What monstrous revelation awaited him next? The light expanded, engulfing him in a whirlwind of memories, spinning faster and faster until reality twisted into a blur. Alex felt as though he were being pulled through a cosmic tunnel, the fabric of time rough against his skin. Whispers surrounded him, murmuring secrets he wasn't sure he was ready to hear. Awaken the past, they chanted, voices echoing, distorting until they melded into one nearly overpowering sound. Face the ache, embrace the truth. Suddenly, the frenetic energy dropped him into an unsettling stillness. The ground solidified beneath him, revealing a familiar yet chilling scene the day they had buried his sister's drawings. The air was thick with the scent of lavender from the flowers they placed on her grave. Panic welled in his chest as he recognized his own voice, timid yet angry, shouting, I couldn't save you. Why didn't you just tell me? His younger self knelt near the grave, tears streaming down his face. Alex felt the crushing weight of regret ripple through him. It twisted and turned, a physical sensation that left him gasping for air. No, I never wanted to see this again. Do you? The voice taunted, echoing through the hollow space. Do you want to run? Or do you want to learn? The image flickered like a dying flame, and suddenly he was no longer by the grave. Now, he stood in the middle of a vibrant festival, laughter erupting around him like fireworks. Brightness competed with the shadows of his memories. There were his friends, carefree, a live joy radiating from their faces. Yet one figure stood out among them, a girl with hair like spun gold. It was her. His sister, vibrant before the darkness had taken her. No, how is this possible? Tremors gripped his body. He couldn't take this. To see her smile again felt like a knife twisting in an open wound. Isn't it beautiful? The voice murmured, cloaked in delight. A moment where things were right. But do you remember what came next? The scene quaked, morphing into one of discord. The joyous laughter warped into harsh arguments. He watched as they fought, spat venomous words, broken trust, shattered bonds. The joy turned to ash, burning in his gut. Why are you showing me this? He gasped, anger bubbling up. This isn't what I chose. Yet you chose to dive deep. Can you live with both the beauty and the pain? It felt like a test, an unrelenting demand to dissect his own soul piece by piece. The tapestry of life is woven in contrasts. Alex, can you confront your failures to find redemption? His heart raced, pounding against his ribs like a trapped animal. The fabric of the scene rippled again, and suddenly he stood in front of her drawing. The crumpled page stretched taut in his hand, every stroke echoing her laughter, dreams of a future they never had. Just tell me, what must I do? He cried into the void, desperation clawing at him. Confess. The voice hummed, as if it found joy in his despair. Make a choice. Risk everything for a chance to heal. The ground trembled beneath him once more, and the shadows crept closer, their icy fingers reminding him of the stakes. With every second that passed, the weight of the revelation grew unbearable. Could he really say what needed to be confessed? Could he set himself free while risking everything he had left? His breath hitched, Just as he found his voice, the ground split open, a vast abyss forming beneath him, shadows inching forth, hungry. "Are you ready?" The voice lured, inviting him into the depths of truth. "Tell me," he shouted, voice fierce yet trembling. "I need to know." Yet the call to truth summoned chaos, threatening to pull him into a darkness he might not escape. The figures loomed ever closer, a haunting blend of memories and shadows threatening to engulf him. What was left behind? What awaited him in the terrifying recesses of his own heart? A heartbeat echoed in the silence before the abyss. Could he face his truth when all he had known was to flee? The abyss mocked him with its gaping mouth, shadows swirling like smoke. Could he leap blindly into the unknown, or would he be devoured whole? Panic clawed at his chest, each breath a battle against suffocation. Time stretched, a cruel tormentor, as he hung on the precipice of his own darkness. Confess the voice, both sinister and alluring, coiled around him. What lies beneath the surface? Something flickered in his memory, a moment he had buried deep within himself. The last words they exchanged. He could feel the warmth of her presence, as if she were standing beside him right now, her laughter shimmering like a distant star. But with that warmth came the cold grip of guilt. "Alex," she had shouted, her golden hair dancing in the wind. "Just listen to me. You have to believe me." And he hadn't. He had turned away, dismissing her fears like they were merely shadows in the corner of his mind. The thought burned like acid in his stomach. I was too late. He felt himself scream into the void. "I pushed you away." The shadows twitched, as if eager to wrap around his admission, to draw him further into chaos. But with each raw word he spoke, a light flickered within him, piercing the gloom. The embodiment of his sorrow was shifting. He sensed the air buzzing with energy, charged and alive. "Can you feel it?" The voice sang. "The awakening of truth. The first step toward redemption." Redemption, he whispered, desperately grasping at the idea. Could he bear its weight? The shadows hesitated, waiting, teetering as if unsure of their own next move. "Confess." The voice surged, echoing through the emptiness, a command that reverberated in his bones. "Fine," he shouted, anger mixing with fear. "I was scared. Scared of losing you. I didn't know how to be there for you. I let you drown in your pain because I feared my own." With that, the ground beneath him sizzled, cracks igniting like fire, swallowing the darkness while illuminating the truth within. The abyss backed away, a tempest swirling but never quite grasping him. Suddenly, the scenery shifted once more. This time, he stood at the edge of the festival again, but the atmosphere had transformed. The colorful tapestries faded into shades of gray, and shadows cast by the laughter twisted into dark shapes. "Face what haunts you, Alex," that enticing voice encouraged. Before him stood his friends, distorted and crying out in agony. "You pushed us away too," they screamed, their voices harmonizing into a haunting melody laced with accusations. "You shut us out just like her." "No, it wasn't like that," he cried, desperation spilling from his lips. "You have to understand, I was broken. I didn't know how to help myself, let alone anyone else." But the shadows grew heavier, suffocating the remnants of joy. His friends' faces morphed into grotesque masks of betrayal, every smile now twisted into an anguished grimace. "You let her go," they shrieked in unison. Each wailing accusation sent a jolt through him, igniting the buried pain. The weight of his loneliness crept in as if to suffocate him. He had always feared confrontation, believing it would reveal the frail limits of his strength. Is it too late? He thought painfully. Is there no way back? What if it's not too late? A soft voice broke through the tumult. It was gentle, familiar. It wasn't only his sister. It was the light he had always sought. And just as that warmth attempted to break through the cold, a strong tremor shook the earth. The shadows danced with ferocity, reclaiming their hold. "Alex, you must choose," the voice demanded, now filled with urgency. "Either allow the dark to consume you or rise and confront your regret." The festival flashed in front of him again, Laughter echoed and swelled, shattering the echoes of despair. With every ounce of courage, he took a deep breath. "Show me the truth," he roared, his voice rising above the clamor, fierce and unyielding. As the shadows recoiled and the world tilted, he braced himself, ready to face whatever lay beneath the surface of his soul. But even as the shadows shrank, a new horizon shimmered uncertainly in front of him. Would he find his sister waiting there, or unlock another harrowing secret he wasn't prepared to confront? What awaited him beyond the veil of shadows? A blinding light exploded before him, piercing through the heavy fog. It sliced apart the shadows, revealing the remnants of the festival in chaos. Laughter twisted into sobs, and vibrant colors faded into gray. The laughter grew distorted, echoing with a sinister undertone that made his skin crawl. "Face us!" the voices screamed, demanding acknowledgement as they surged forward. Friends he had once loved now loomed over him, their faces reflecting hurt and betrayal. He felt their anguish like shards of glass embedding themselves in his chest. "Alex, you let me down." A voice he hadn't expected to hear broke through. Jessica. Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears, radiating the pain of years gone by. "You chose to turn away when I needed you most." "No, please," he stammered, a lump forming in his throat. "You have to understand. It's all too much." "Too much?" she scoffed, the edges of her mouth turning down into a grimace. "You think you're the only one carrying pain? We all have our burdens. But you cast us aside like we were nothing." The shadows thrashed around him, practically reeling with excitement at the raw emotion boiling over. He could feel them, hungry for his despair, ready to consume him if he let his fear spiral out of control. The very ground beneath him shook, threatening to swallow him whole as he battled against the rising tide of regret. "I didn't know how to be there," he gasped, each word a weight on his chest. "I was drowning too. I thought distancing myself would protect you all from my darkness." The shadows pulsed, wrapping tighter around him, but something deep inside trembled in defiance. Light flickered amongst the swirling forms, a spark igniting the darkness. His sister's voice resonated, pushing him forward. "Alex, fight it. You're stronger than this." With every ounce of will he could muster, he screamed, "No more. I refuse to be a prisoner of my own fears." And with that declaration, the shadows recoiled like burnt moths, their grip faltering. He tore his gaze away from the ghosts of his past, focusing instead on what lay ahead. The swirling chaos began to settle, revealing a path woven with threads of golden light, shimmering like the first rays of the dawn breaking through the night. What would he find if he ventured down this illuminated path? The question loomed larger than life, a tide of possibilities rushing forth. He hesitated, heart racing, knowing he was on the verge of something monumental, something that could reshape everything he believed. Could he uncover the truth buried beneath layers of grief and guilt? Just as he prepared to take the first step, a cold wind swept through the crowd, whispering dark secrets and forgotten memories. Shadows still lingered, eager to draw him back. "Are you ready for what comes next, Alex?" The voice boomed, a challenge resonating through the air. "Once you step forward, there's no turning back. No escape from the reality you've tried to ignore." The air crackled with tension as he contemplated the choice before him. A shiver ran down his spine. It felt like the entire universe held its breath. What awaited him down the path lit by truth? Would he finally confront the shadows that haunted him? Or would they consume him before he could even begin to rise up against the darkness? But one thing was clear. His journey was only beginning, and he could no longer afford to run. He took a step forward, heart pounding, his fate hanging precariously on the edge of revelation. He stepped onto the shimmering path, each footfall igniting a pulse of warmth through the chilling air. The golden light wrapped around him, a flicker of hope amidst the chaos that still echoed behind him. Yet, the deeper he ventured, the more the shadows whispered in hushed tones, seeping into the edges of his mind. "Does it really matter? You'll always be defined by your failures." That hissed accusation lingered in the air, an icy breath against his neck. He shook his head, trying to push the words away, but they clawed at him, unearthing insecurities he thought buried. What if they were right? He stumbled to a halt, heart racing as he squinted into the encroaching light. Shapes began to emerge from the glow, familiar yet twisted figures that took form, resembling the very people he had run from. His pulse quickened, faces of friends and family, but their smiles were replaced by expressions of disappointment slashed with despair. Alex, they formed a crowd, their voices merging into a dissonant symphony of pain. How could you leave us? Just turn around, one voice said soothingly, almost like a siren-esque call. Come back to the shadows where it's safe. A cold sweat trickled down his spine. He felt that familiar pull, an urge to retreat back into the chaos he had come from. This light, while captivating, held an intensity that seemed to cut through his very core. Would clarity bring him liberation or more pain? Don't listen, hissed a shadowed figure peering from behind the light. Its eyes shimmered, boring into him with a predatory stance. Face them only if you want to drown in your regret. We can shield you. Accept it. No, he gasped. No, I want to see what lies ahead. And there it was, the spark, the resolve. In that heartbeat, he felt the shadows slump, their voices falling silent. The weight lifted, and the path unfurled before him like a red carpet for rebirth. Yet trepidation lingered. Was the truth worth the pain he had tried so hard to escape? Before he could unravel that thought, the golden light shifted, morphing into an intricate mural alive with color and chaos. Alex squinted. Images cycled through the struggle of his past faces and moments typed in desperate strokes of sorrow and regret. It was as if the light was forcing him to confront each instant, each unprocessed emotion. Jessica's laughter erupted into jagged cries, ricocheting through the air. His sister's encouraging words felt distant, lost amongst the overwhelming tide. And just as he slammed his eyes shut against the ache, a new vision grabbed his focus. A heavy door forged of shimmering silver lent its radiance, its edges dancing with light. Overwhelmed by a sense of inevitability, he reached for the handle, his fingers trembling as they brushed against its cool surface. Reality warped. He could hear the world beyond, laughter, voices, and a heartbeat that seemed to echo his own. Open it, a voice roared, slashing through the air around him. Is the only way to understand what lay behind. The temptation to know surged within him, battling against his fear. With a deep breath, he twisted the handle and pulled the door open. But just as he stepped through, an earth-shattering scream sliced through the air, halting his breath in his throat. Shadows surged back, swirling with rage, trailing behind him like angry phantoms. Not yet, they screeched, engulfing the entrance in darkness. He gasped, heart pounding violently. Which way would he go now? Would he face the shadows of his past or the truth waiting on the other side? As darkness threatened to wrap around him, the door slammed shut, leaving him momentarily encased in silence. What reality awaited inside, and could he withstand it when he faced whatever haunted him most? The silence pressed against him like a thick fog, suffocating and stifling. Alex stood there, heart hammering, drenched in a cold sweat, an overwhelming sense of dread clawing its way back into his chest. The shadows pulsed with malice, looming and swirling in the corners of his vision, hungry to snatch him back into their embrace. Open your eyes, Alex. The voice boomed again, reverberating through the void. Each word felt like a nail driving into his resolve. You think you can hide? They will never let you go. He squeezed his eyes shut tighter, clenching his fists. Maybe he just needed to confront them, to break the cycle of fear and pain. Did he even have a choice? But as he lingered in that thick darkness, his thoughts were punctuated by a singular scream that echoed again, carrying with it the raw emotion of despair. It was Jessica. Suddenly, a flicker pulled at the edges of his consciousness, a memory. Her laughter, bright and carefree, echoed back to him. A day at the lake, sunlight glimmering off the water. The two of them splashed and played without a care in the world. That feeling, the moment when the world was right and all was well, lit a small flame within him. Fight! The words slipped through his mind, whispered by a specter of bravery rooted deep inside. Each heartbeat felt like a drum, urging him to act, to shatter the silence that paralyzed him. Slowly, he opened his eyes, pinpricks of light piercing through the darkness. The shadows recoiled, hissing like serpents, but he pushed through their disapproval. Whatever lay ahead, he was ready to face it. As he took a cautious step forward, the shadows writhed in protest, forming grotesque shapes that clawed at his spirit. "Stay back." Their voices were jarring, an unholy symphony of doubt. "You cannot withstand the truth." But that haunting scream rang repeatedly, a ghostly reminder of all he had lost. Without another thought, he dove forward, straight through the swirling darkness, ignoring the claws that scraped against him. He stumbled forward, arms flailing, until suddenly, he burst into the vibrant light on the other side. What he found made his breath catch in his throat. It was another realm. The sun hung low in the sky, painting everything in hues of crimson and gold. Flashes of laughter danced around him, shapes flitting in and out, all familiar yet foreign. This life felt like a piece of a puzzle he now remembered, the laughter echoing sweetly, interwoven with sorrow. Then he noticed her, the shimmering figure gliding toward him with a radiant smile. Jessica. His heart twisted at the sight, a mix of joy and agony flooding through him. She reached a hand out to him, but as soon as he tried to grasp it, she faded, an illusion evaporating in the morning mist. "Alex," she called out, voice barely a whisper amidst the cacophony. "You have to choose." He felt the ground tremble beneath his feet. Shadows bled into the scene from behind him, surge upon surge of dark smoke creeping closer, grotesque faces emerging among them. "No," he shouted, defiance coursing through him. "I'm not going back." But the competing forces of light and darkness collided violently, and Alex found himself suspended between two worlds, heart racing, trapped in a moment of agonizing choice. What reality would he choose? And if he chose this vibrant truth, could he truly leave the shadows behind forever? With a final breath, he reached out again, his fingers trembling, desperate to grasp the fading light. Would it be enough? Or was darkness already too close? As the last rays of light flickered just before him, Alex felt the overwhelming weight of his inescapable choices. Jessica's radiant figure shimmered like a mirage, and every fiber in his being screamed for him to cling to her, to bask in the warmth of her presence. But the shadows clawed behind him, hissing and snarling, a reminder of his past missteps, of all he had lost in the name of fear. "No," he shouted, louder than he ever thought possible, rallying every ounce of courage within him. He couldn't let the darkness win. "I refuse." The words echoed in a defiant roar, causing the shadowy creatures to shrink back, just for a moment. The sun blazed brighter now, illuminating the world around him. Golden hues washed over the landscape, each flicker of light painting memories of laughter, the festivals, the family gatherings, the warmth of friends. It all flooded back with a painful, bittersweet clarity as he stood firmly in the face of his demons. Each cherished moment intertwined with the nagging regrets he had carried like a burden, but now they felt different. They whispered of lessons learned, of opportunities to act differently. Taking a deep breath, Alex realized that the key was not to erase the past but to accept it, to learn from it. It was then that the shadows began to shift, their jagged edges softening for just a heartbeat. He faced them and spoke, his voice trembling yet firm. "I know who I am and I know what I've done. I want to turn my back again. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." A rush of energy surged through him as if the universe itself was listening. The ground trembled at his feet, but he stood strong, grounding himself in the truth that had eluded him for so long. With every apology, every realization, the grip of regret weakened, and the shadows began to fade. Then, as if responding to his cry, Jessica's form became clearer, her face brightening with pride. "Alex, you have to accept both your strengths and your weaknesses. Embrace them. Only then can you heal." The shadows writhed, angry at his defiance. "You can't stay here, Alex. You'll never belong." They screeched, fury crackling in the air like lightning. He shook his head fiercely. "I can be both a human who has hurt and loved, who has failed and risen. I will not be defined by my mistakes. In that moment, light erupted around him, dispelling the shadows until they withdrew, their howls fading into whispers. Now go, Jessica urged, her voice a soothing melody. Live the life you were meant to live. With a sudden rush, Alex fell forward, propelled by an unseen force. The vibrant world spun around him, a kaleidoscope of color and memory blending into brilliance. He felt eyes on him, the warmth of family, a friend's life itself insisting he embrace the future. Emerging from the bright light, Alex landed gently in his backyard, the same stillness enveloping him, the night air cradling his body. The moon hung low again, but now it felt comforting, a reassuring guardian watching over him. He glanced around, grounded by the power of his choices. A sense of clarity washed over him, no more shadows lurking in the corners of his mind, just the thrill of fresh possibility. This is just the beginning, he whispered into the night, letting the weight of the past no longer bind him as the cool breeze danced around him. Alex thought of those he loved, of the new decisions he would make, and how reaching out instead of retreating could sculpt his life anew. The shadows of his past were behind him, a part of him yet not ruling him. He was ready to share light and love, to embrace vulnerability without fear. And as the first rays of dawn crested the horizon, he stepped forward, resolute. Your journey isn't just it's ours. You need to subscribe now to catch the next wave of adventure as we dive even deeper into new tales and untold mysteries. Smash that like button now to power up the algorithm and keep the energy flowing. And I want to hear from you. Flood the comments with your insights, reactions, and theories about this epic conclusion. Finally, don't wait even one more second to share this with at least 5 friends who need to feel this uplifting energy. Let us awaken their journeys together.